You're watching Telecom TV, and I'm joined now by Kevin Shatzkamer of Dell EMC and Caroline Chan of Intel. Welcome to both. Can I start talking about the network edge, because it's becoming critically important to the industry. Why, Kevin, is the network edge such an important topic at the moment?
Sure, I think that's a great question. If we look at the last 10 years, we've seen absolutely phenomenal growth of the cloud. We've seen it as a growth of in a new business model for enabling services and applications, sitting remotely from the enterprise branch, remotely from the consumers of those applications and services. And then we've also seen technology advancements in the cloud as well for being able to scale, build in virtualization, multi-tenancy capabilities. And the cloud will continue going forward. As both a business model and a technology evolution. I think what we're seeing now is that there continues to be growth in a new class of services applications that are led by requirements for lower latency, that are led by requirements for more interactivity, that are driving higher amounts of data analytics out of the infrastructure, and that are driving a requirement to take cloud technologies and move them even closer to the consumer or enterprise organization. So if we look at the first 10 years of the cloud, it was all about taking things out of the branch, out of the enterprise, out of the premise, further away and centralize it into locations where we can leverage scale and multi-tenancy. But because of this new class of applications, we're actually seeing now the cloud extend further back into the network, closer to the consumers, closer to the end.
Caroline, you're agreeing.
Oh, I could not agree more. Actually, one thing I was going to point out, if you really look at some of the use cases we drive through, yesterday I hosted a panel on live events and fan engagement. So what we have done, what we're doing right now is at the FC Barcelona stadium, we put in an immersive media, the Intel True VR, Intel 360. The volumetric data that we got, we had to render that in real time and deliver that right away to the fans, whether the fans that's sitting in the nosebleed seat or underneath, and really giving them a multi-angle, very personalized, customized experience. That kind of things is being enabled by 5G, and that kind of things being done in the cloud will have the latency issue. Being done here locally in the stadium itself allows the control, the content owners and the delivery vehicle. So it was done not just in terms of user experience, but it's also a lot of ROI. So we had a really good discussion. So I couldn't agree with you more. Is the fact that we are being able to develop new use cases, a new engagement model and monetization scheme because the cloud is now closer to the edge of the network.
Correct, and I think because of the proliferation of x86 as an architecture within servers, because of the proliferation of much higher speed data networks, much lower latency on those networks, I think what we're seeing is that we're finally at that tipping point as an industry where it no longer makes sense where it now makes more and more sense to move compute closer to where the users are and where the data is being originated from than it is to move the data back into centralized locations where the compute resides.
And you're talking about moving it closer to where the users are. Is there a precise definition of where the network edge is actually located?
Absolutely. So the edge is a business model, right? It's not a particular location. Caroline mentioned a great example of FC Barcelona where the edge was on-premise within the stadium or within the venue. Right? The edge in a mobile network can sit at the cell site in very aggressively distributed situations. It can sit at microwave aggregation locations. It can sit within the central office, IP peering points. Right? I think just generally speaking, the edge resides wherever there's the best opportunity to deliver an experience that the consumers and enterprise are. Precisely.
Yeah, definitely, because we want to deliver services with the lowest latency and lowest CapEx and OpEx, and this really allows that, and definitely the work that Dell has done together with Intel, it really enhanced that availability. Yeah.
And Caroline, you mentioned the fan experience example, but are we seeing what other types of services and applications might we see come to the network edge?
Well, one thing that we actually did in an event in Pyeongchang, Korea recently, that we put together with one of the Alibaba, the cloud provider, in a smart retail. So they actually essentially do facial recognition, and then they put it in a retail store. So that's a very good on-prem. This is really about market expansion. So many women like me will go in and try on 10 different dresses, and then you pick one, if that. So they let you at least virtually put it on. So it eliminates some of that, take 90% out. So really improve the user experience and really enhance the way of selling and directly engage. If they don't have the size, they say, oh, I'll ship it to you. So that they did a very good demonstration there, together with Intel. So that is another good example. You talk about monetization, talk about ROI, you talk about being able to know the user statistics. These are all very valuable to the retailers.
Some great examples of how users can benefit and that sort of data we can get as service providers. But Kevin, what are the associated architectural challenges of implementing at the edge?
Sure, and I think when we think about the edge, it's not a new concept, right? We've seen content delivery networks exist within the industry for the better part of 20 years, right? And what we've always seen is that when we encounter what we would call the law of large numbers, large amounts of content, large amounts of data, large number of subscribers, we've always begun the evolution from centralized to decentralized. Right, but when we walk around and we see the terminology network edge at events like Mobile World Congress really starting to take root as a more holistic concept, right? I think what we're talking about now at the network edge is building a platform. No longer disparate applications sitting on top of their own proprietary infrastructure at the edge, but really starting to build a platform that can bring virtualization services, applications, content, network services closer to the customer so that we can terminate access technologies, we can hand off to IoT applications, we can hand off to enterprise applications at the edge. And even when we look at really large cloud providers that have traditionally built a business model around massively scaled centralized data centers, like Microsoft from an Azure perspective, right? Now they bring out and they release Azure Stack, which allows you to extend Azure to the edge. You look at Amazon Web Services and their introduction of technologies like Greengrass to be able to bring Amazon Web Services closer to the edge. I think there's just general recognition around the industry that a uniform, consistent way to deploy applications and services and integrate into the networks that reside at those locations is foundationally important.
Fascinating. Well, Kevin and Caroline, thank you both very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.